Hey, welcome to another episode of Straight from the Desk. This time we will cover a fantastic topic. We will talk about how to achieve a lifelike real metallic look. I've decided to show you this on the wonderful new Custodes Terminators. So we have a lot of detail. We also have a lot of gold to paint. So yeah, I think the most important part for the gold is you always have to remember that beside the color transition, you also need an adequate and fitting gloss transition. So I'm going for a look that matches my usual painting style, so quite distinct highlights and pronounced shadows. So here we want the highlights to be more reflective. So we're going for a chrome look in the highlights and a rather desaturated gold together with some purple shadows. So I think overall we were achieving quite a nice and rich gold look. Depending on how you want your army or how you want your model to look, you can go for a more vibrant gold. Just don't mix as much purple and brown in the base tone. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video. Have fun! Alright, so here we have that wonderful Custodes model, and you can see we have a lot of detail going on, and you can also see that I haven't glued in all the parts because this way I have like some of these details here just a little bit better accessible. So you can see on the palette we have some glorious gold from Game Color, some model color dark sea blue, some model color air tank brown, some model color air chrome, some Hex Legion from the Game Color Air range, and some model color black. We'll first start using some of the gold to create a base tone that is actually not too metallic, and we'll add some of that purple here. So black. And also a bit of the Armour brown here. Okay, well, that's quite good. And we're working with something like a medium base tone, so it covers with 1 or 2 layers. Too much on the brush. And you can see I'm trying, I wiped off the extra amount here of paint in the brush, so I'm not trying to really hit with the metal paint all the way here into the recesses between the different elements. Okay, so yeah, we're trying to achieve like really a nice surface here. So we have to make sure that we really cover the surface with like an equal amount of paint, so we get like the same metallic finish here on the surface. I will continue with the rest off cam, and we'll be back once the base color is in place. Alright, so you can see I continued with the base color all over the metal parts, and yeah, we're good to go for some contrast maximization. And I think here this area is quite a good area to start with, and I really want to go for a strong highlight here on that side, facing a shadow here on this side to really get that edge out there. And we'll do that using some of the glorious gold. And here to the side we'll mix it with some of our base tone. And we'll use that here in the intermediate area. We're also taking some of that gold and we're mixing it with a little bit of the chrome here. And we'll use that as our maximum highlight here. And you can see how that area already starts to look a lot more defined. Once we add the shadow next to it, that effect will even be stronger. So for the shadow color we will mainly use the not metallic paints here. So we're working with some of the Hex Legion and some of that tank brown and also a bit of black. We'll work with something like a medium layer consistency. We're just applying that here to the edge. Cleaning the brush and just feathering that out. And you can see here that we have, where I just placed the matte color, we have like a coffee stain that is just quite a bit more matte than the area next to it. So with just applying very thin glazes here of the shadow color, we can even out that mistake in the gloss transition. And with a tiny bit of the pure chrome, you can just push that contrast here. Yep, very nice. And we'll continue here on the surrounding elements. So first a bit of the pure glorious gold, and then just feathering that out here to the side. And adding a bit of pure chrome here. And just trying to get that transition here. Still a pure gold, and yet quite contrasty from the highlight there. And I will also continue adding smaller lights here already. Okay, to intensify the contrast on that element here, I would just introduce a little glaze here of the shadow tone. also here to the lower side of the knee guard. Okay, and because we have like that strong shadow here, I want to have like a lighter part also here that I could connect later on the highlight here from the top to the lower part. We will introduce that also first using some of the glorious gold. And connecting it here a bit with that base tone that we've used previously. And we can continue connecting it here to the knee guard. And so here to this side of the element, and on the top of that round volume here. And with having some of the gold in the back of the brush and some chrome on the tip, we could do like a loaded brush with metallic paints here. And we get like that super intense gold highlight here. For that plane here, we will also try to maximize the contrast and add a strong highlight here on the top, and like a secondary light here to the lower side. So first placing the gold and feathering it out a bit. We're even adding a bit of the shadow color up here. And this way we have like a maximum contrast here to the top. And we can push that with a bit of the pure chrome. Okay, I think that looks already pretty nice. I want to continue the highlight here also on the upper part of the armor. Okay, and with a bit of the base tone here, we can soft that out to the side. Before we maximize the contrast using some chrome. And with the mixed tone of the chrome and the gold, I'm just softening out that strong highlight to the sides. Okay, and with a bit of the mixed tone here with the chrome and the gold, we can also start adding small highlights to these elements here. And yeah, I think it's quite nice actually to take a second to compare these two legs at the moment. This here in the beginning already looked quite metallic, but once we add the highlights here, you can see that we can create quite a lot more dramatic look. So let me continue like that here on the lower elements as well, and we'll be back to do some detail work. Alright, you can see I continued with the highlights, and I think, yeah, it overall it already looks pretty cool. But I told you we have to continue with some of the detail work. And as we showed most of the progress here on the leg, we will also continue here with our detailing work. So, first of all, we're taking a glaze, in between medium and heavy glaze, in the brush here to get that into the recesses. Also here in the shadow area under the knee. Here I'm trying to put more pressure to the brush here and have the pigments rather collect here to that edge. This way we have a good contrast for our highlight work later on. Okay, also here. And here in between the recesses. Thinning it down a tiny. We're continuing here more as a wash. Here more in the shadow area of that eagle, and also here. Okay, and now this area here is dry, and we can continue detailing it out a little bit more. So here with using our shadow tone slightly more opaque, we can add scratches here to the surface as well. Okay, and using some of that shadow tone here, we can continue with our scratches. I only want to add a few, I don't want to have them like super battle damaged. And with a bit of that highlight tone here pre-mixed on the palette, we can continue adding some small highlights to the details. So here really only on the upper edge of these elements. And just with a bit of the pure chrome. Well, that was a little too large. And we continue here and just along the edge of these wings. So here, pushing that contrast a bit more. But yeah, I think these detail highlights really help to also have like that area here really structured. We'll continue with some highlights on the scratches that we painted on. I'm just placing the highlights on the lower side of the scratches. And with a bit of pure chrome just here along the edge. Yeah, I think that looks pretty nice. I think I would use just a little bit of the shadow glaze here and glaze that on the upper edge of the scratches, just to have that area a bit more matte. So it contrasts better with the painted on highlight. Yeah, I think that looks pretty neat already. Okay, so let's continue here on that area with our highlights. And I think a very prominent one is the one up here. So first some of the pure glorious gold. And some chrome just here to the very top. Okay, I would just wipe off some of the chrome from the brush to just really have a tiny bit here to be able to put some highlights here on these small indentations. Okay, with our highlight tone on the brush, we will continue here our highlight work on that eagle. And as you can see here with the highlight here on these lower elements, I really tried to focus them on more on the left side. So this is also where we'll introduce here the strongest highlight on the element on the top. So here, a little along the wings. Okay, so I don't want to bore you here with the highlight work, so I'm really trying just to have like the lights quite continuous here in the middle, and yeah, we'll be back to add more highlight work here on the top before we switch into some other details. Okay? Alright, so I continued here a little bit with the cleanup work, and what we'll do now is we'll take care of the upper part here, and we'll first use some of our shadow tone here as a glaze, and we will use that here shadow area. So up here to both sides. And here on the top we want the brightest reflex to be here in the middle, so I'm just using some of that shadow glaze here to tone down the base tone a little bit. Okay, and we'll continue with some of the glorious gold and start brightening up the chest armor here to the middle. Also here to the other half. And here we're using some of our base tone and some of the gold here as a mixed tone to really get like a nice and even transition between the two. Okay, we'll use a bit of chrome. Here, closer to the center. And with the mixed tone of the gold and the silver we can even out that transition. Yeah, also highlight that edge here. Okay, yeah, really nice. And we'll continue first with the highlights here. Just really here on the top. First with the pure gold. And with a bit of the base tone. Just wet blending that here on the surface. And with a bit of the chrome. We're placing that quite broad highlight here to the top, because this here should really be super bright, because it's really just on the top and it would catch almost all the light. Okay, and with a bit of gold in the back of the brush, some chrome in the tip, we can do a lot of brush here on top of these smaller elements. We might need a bit more chrome. Okay, we'll continue working with a highlight tone that we've mixed here on the palette to get some of the smaller highlights in place. Here on top of the eagle head in the middle. Here. And here, just carefully along the edge of these small lightning bolts. Okay, yeah, I think that looks good already. I will continue adding a bit of the shadow washes here to the back before we continue with our highlight work. So we're working here with something between a medium and a light glaze. You can use that here to differentiate here between the surfaces. So I want that horizontal plane to be a bit darker. I think that's okay. And for an area like this here, we really want to differentiate those different planes here. And I'm just working with a bit of the pure gold to place the first highlights. I'll also use the gold here for these smaller highlights. Okay, and with a bit of that pre-mixed highlight tone that we had on the palette, we can just continue brightening up here that line. Also adding slightly brighter highlights here to these. And also here on the top. Okay, and with a bit of the pure gold, you can just get these here faded out a little bit to the lower side.
again a bit darker. Because this edge is not really a hard edge, we also want to have the reflex softened out here to both sides, so it might take just a little bit longer, but it looks better if you pay attention to the different kind of edges that you find here. Okay, so a bit brighter here on the lower side. And with a bit of pure chrome we can push the contrast here just a tiny bit more. And with a wet brush you can just feather that out. And also some chrome here for the highlights on that little element in the back. Okay, I think that is quite a nice gold finish. Okay, I will continue detailing that out a bit to get that same reflectivity here also on these smaller details, and yeah, we'll be back to define some other elements. Alright, so in the next step we will continue with the shoulder pads. Okay, so you can see we've rearranged the palette, and here we have some glorious gold from the Game Color range. Here we have some chrome from the Model Color Air range. Here is some Model Color Black, some Hexed Legion from the Game Color Air range, and from the Model Air range, here we have some Armour Brown. We'll start mixing our not too metallic base tone from Plenty of the Glorious Gold with some of the purple, Hexed Legion with some of the purple, more of the gold actually. A little bit of black, and also some of the Armour Brown. Okay. We'll use the color quite opaque, so between a medium and a heavy base tone. First we will cover the whole surface with our base tone, and same as with the other armor, we can just not go all the way into the recesses and keep some of that black here. Okay, and while this one dries, I can paint this and the other one. Okay, you can see for an area like this here, it's good to cover it a second time with the metallics to really even out the metallic finish here. Okay, I will also do that to the other one here. Okay, for the next step, the placement of the highlights, we will attach the shoulder pads to the figure, and then we'll take them off again to refine them here on our holder. Alright, so here we are with the shoulder pads in place, and now we can place our main highlight. And you can see that with the highlights here, I really focused here on the upper part, so I want the highlights also to follow that position here of the main highlight. So a little bit more from the front, a little bit more from the left as well. So yeah, let's continue, and we will do that using some of the pure gold, and we will use that in like a medium layer consistency. I'm just placing that here along the middle line as our reflection of the sun itself. Okay, we'll take some of the chrome. I'll just place that here in the center of the gold, wipe off the brush, and just blend that here a little on the surface. A bit of the gold, but a bit thinner than before. You can just blend to here a little bit better together. Adding also a tiny bit of chrome here to the tip. And we can do a loaded brush here with the metallics. And you can see if we twist it, we really have that amazing nice gloss transition that really helps us here to get a very nice painted but yet reflective metallic look. Continue here with these highlights. Alright, so I really like the look of that highlight already. I will just show you the placement here for that highlight, and we'll be back to detail both of them out a little bit more. So here we are also going for that continuous highlight, and we will just, as we did before, first start with using some of the pure gold to paint that in a like medium layer consistency. Okay, and next step with the chrome. Okay, and the next step with the chrome. Okay, and we'll continue to detail that out before we're back to show you like the secondary reflex from the lower side. Okay. Alright, so you can see I've continued softening up the highlights a bit, and for the next step we will need some shadow color. We're remixing our shadow color here using some of the Hex Legion, some of the black, and a bit of the Armour brown. We're using this as, let's say, between light and medium glaze, and we're using that here to get a little bit of separation between the trim and the inner center of the shoulder pad. We will also use that glaze here to get a little bit of a shadow that is a bit matte here, to really contrast nicely with that strong edge that we have here. And here we have like a smooth surface, so here we don't need to add any shadow for our contrast. Okay, and here, because of like the position of the shoulder pad, here we would see a bit more of like a horizontal reflection, so I'm going for like also a darker line here. And I'm trying to have the pigments collect here more like line-like. Same here. Okay. That is, so to say, like the earth reflection in our horizontal reflex, and we'll continue with some of the gold to build up that contrast here. Okay, now we will start to soft out the gold transition here to the upper side, just with a clean brush and a little bit of the gold pigments that are left here on the surface. And a bit thinner with just a drop of water here from the palette. Yeah, I like the look of that. And we'll continue to add some detail highlights. Also using the gold here a bit thicker this time. So here just along the edge. A little bit of the pure chrome. I'm just pushing these highlights here on the edge a bit more. And with a bit of gold, we'll also add like a secondary highlight here from the lower side of that rim, as if some light that would be reflected from the ground would bounce back. Just to soft that out here a bit. Okay, to the front. Alright, here for the front, the highlight is more towards this side. We will not really see the reflection here of the horizon, because the whole cylinder is turned a little bit like that. So here we will just have like that little bit of back reflection here from the ground. And we're doing that just with the pure gold. And using some of the chrome together with the gold here for the upper edges, so they still appear a bit brighter. Actually, I like the look, but I think I need some more shadow separation here to really have those edges a bit more visible. So I'm doing that with the Glaze of Our shadow tone. yeah, I really like the look, and I will continue with the horizontal reflection here on the other side, and also some detail highlights here on these lightning bolts. But we will do this off cam, and we'll be back with the finished shoulder pads. Alright, this is how the shoulder pads look now, with also the detail highlights here on the lightning bolts and the horizontal reflection here on both sides. And yeah, I think the metallics turned out really fantastic. We have that antique gold look that we're going for. And yeah, see you for the detail works and also the red cloak in the next chapter. Alright.
Hey, now that the Terminator's armor is painted, I think it looks really fantastic altogether. So I can't wait to paint the other parts and the missing elements. So yeah, see you in the next video.